European Ukrainian forces. A Ukrainian soldier in a trench in the eastern Donetsk region on Friday searches the front lines for Russian weak points. Donetsk region, Ukraine, even as they grapple with ammunition shortages and wait for supplies from Western backers, Ukrainian forces are testing Russian defenses against vulnerabilities ahead of a much-anticipated counterattack. In trench position just over kilometer from the Russian lines, Ukrainian corporal is working with joint unit flying commercial drones to monitor Russian forces, identify weak spots and plan attacks to destroy fortifications. "We're testing them," he said, describing small operations aimed at identifying Russian battle positions and measuring their response. "Of course they do the same to us." Like others in this report, the corporal spoke only on condition that he be identified by his rank and call sign, Boxer, in accordance with Ukrainian military regulations. Boxer said the small operations prepared his unit for a full-scale attack while he awaited more ammunition and heavier equipment. "It's better not to let Russian troops dig themselves, so it's easier for us to drive them out," he said. The anticipated spring offensive was framed as Ukraine's opportunity to recapture territory held by Russian forces this year, which makes up about 1/5 of the country. But the operation was delayed due to weather, slow equipment deliveries and ammo shortages, raising fears of a stalemate. Many Ukrainians fear that if Kyiv does not reclaim important territory and the flag of the country's Western supporters, they will be forced from a negative position to negotiate with Russia. The corporal in the Donetsk region has been in the same trench position for more than 6 months. "We must recognize their voices," he said of Russian soldiers a little over a kilometer away. "We hear drunken cries at night, mostly curses." Another commander, stationed outside the town of Bakhmut, said he was conducting similar operations to test the Russian defenses. "We saw that newly mobilized Russian troops were brought in just to dig, and they are fortifying their positions very well," said the 24-year-old captain, Métis, who is responsible for planning operations and reconnaissance. Unit. "They supplement with whatever they can find, wood, even garbage." In a recent operation, drones were first used to detect minefields on the Russian side before sending 2 small teams. "The results were much better than we had planned. Some of the soldiers responded, but most of them left their positions and weapons," he said. The teams managed to repulse first line of Russian troops, but the Ukrainians did not advance and did not try to hold position. "Morality is low," he said, describing the desertions, "but that doesn't mean all Russian troops will be prepared that way. Their commanders are skilled, but they seem unable to control their forces." He acknowledged that the success of the test operations did not mean that his unit was ready for full attack. More heavy equipment still awaits, armored vehicles to advance large numbers of soldiers, and more training. He said that when unit first received an advanced anti-tank weapon system, the units trained themselves with system manual and YouTube tutorials. "The thing I'm most worried about is anti-personnel mines. We can't see them with our drones," he said. He said that during an operation, they found small explosives scattered all over the Russian defensive position. There were even mines in the trenches in which they lived. Western aid has played a critical role helping Ukrainian forces repel Russian troops from Kharkiv region in the northeast and parts of Kherson south last year. But since then, the war has slowed to a protracted grind, and it is unclear whether additional support will be enough to break the stalemate. Russia has installed heavily fortified defense systems in parts of occupied Ukraine. "Of course I'm worried, longer we wait," said a Ukrainian lieutenant colonel commanding a tank battalion in the Zaporizhia region, using call sign, Thunder. The Thunder said Russian forces were strengthening themselves more and more every day. He said the heavily mined front lines are expected to be a particularly difficult obstacle to navigate. "We planted a lot of mines, so did the Russian side." Despite their defensive posture, Ukrainian forces continue to suffer casualties. The fight for Bakhmut led to the longest and least battle of the war, with heavy casualties on both sides. At a recent mass funeral for Ukrainian soldiers in Dnipro, 14 coffins draped with the national flag were consecrated by Orthodox priests before burial. Eternal glory to heroes, eternal glory to all those who gave their lives for freedom of Ukraine, one of priests said during service. Vlad, a 26-year-old soldier, was killed when mortar shells hit his position while digging a trench outside Bakhmut. His family requested that he be identified by name only, due to safety concerns. "We were thrown into battle the first day after we joined," said Vitaly, who served with Vlad and laid flowers on his grave. "I didn't even know which unit I was in, it was so chaotic. The first person saw was Vlad, I followed him to know where was going." The two became close by fighting side by side for nearly a year. Vitaly said he was shocked when he heard how Vlad was killed. "When the argument began, Vlad did not run to hide like the others. She must be tired because I know you know how to protect yourself. I know we have to fight this war, but I also know that war is not the solution," Vitaly said. "I'm just feeling exhausted right now," he said. I remember Vlad saying he felt the same.